Thanks for joining us again on What Matters This Week. I'm Lauren Maloney. Mary Brandt is here from the American Red Cross. Kathy Buley joins us as well. March, Red Cross Month, it's coming up already. It seems like we're here again talking about it. But you have a special campaign, Mary, that you want to talk about, and it's a partnership with the American Cancer Society. So let's start with that.
Yes, it is. Beginning in early February through the end of February, we have partnered with the American Cancer Society because we want to make people aware of the fact that patients fighting cancer use roughly 1/4 of the nation's blood supply. That's more than patients fighting any other disease. And there are just simply not enough people donating blood to keep pace with that need. The American Cancer Society estimates that nearly 1 in every 3 people in their lifetime will be diagnosed with cancer. And to bring that a little bit closer to home, here in Vermont, this calendar year, just in 2020, the estimate is that more than 3,700 people will receive a diagnosis of cancer. And right now, Lauren, there is simply not enough people donating blood to keep up with that demand. As we've talked about in the past, right now, only about 3 in every 100 people, 3% of the population, is donating. We need more people to roll up a sleeve and donate to make sure that the blood is there to help people fighting cancer.
Yeah. Kathy, that's where you come in.
Mm-hmm.
You were a teacher at Chamberlain School.
Mm-hmm.
March of last year, you're a pancreatic cancer thriver, I like to say.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about how you were feeling and how your diagnosis came to be.
Well, I was really, the predominant feeling that I was having was one of fatigue, just very tired. Seemed like I was, you know, trying to do the right things, and yet I just couldn't get over this fatigue that was setting in. I attributed it to the fact that I was caring for my 93-year-old mother and teaching full-time. And but at one point, actually one day at school, my colleagues said, you know, you really need to, this is not good. And you know,
how long were you feeling this way?
Oh, the better part of a year. You know, so it was really, it was progressive over, but yeah, I mean, for a year I was kind of saying to my doctor, I'm so tired, I'm just really tired, and you know, couldn't get that energy level up. And so that was really what actually was happening, was that I had a bleed at the top of my pancreas, which was leaving my blood levels very dangerously low, and that's what took me to the emergency room, and that's when I had to receive 4 blood transfusions immediately.
Wow.
And so,
according to your story, your blood level at the time was just 14% hematocrit level. That's what we
that's
okay.
the terminal. I don't know exactly what.
Sure.
Yes, my hematocrit was 14, and which is, I guess, really, really dangerously low. It should be in the 30s. So I was without the blood transfusion, I certainly would have died. I mean, I think that's clear to say.
And within days, you
and
had
within
the
days.
transfusions.
Yeah, right. So I mean, I think that probably had I not had those blood transfusions, I probably would have died that week. You know, I mean, it was that serious. And so after the transfusions came the diagnosis, and then I immediately went into treatment down at Dana-Farber in Boston.
Okay.
So,
and you have family there?
Yes, my son lives in that area, so they packed me up and brought me down to be with them. So it really was a question of, you know, sitting and watching that blood bag and thinking, gee, you know, over the years I've been a little bit lazy when they call me from the Red Cross, and you know, all of those times that your intentions are always good, but yes, I'll try to get in next week. And you know, I was sitting there thinking, this person, whoever this person is, who took the time out of their day, you know, is really saving my life right now. And I have to say, in reflecting on it over the course of the year since last March, you know, I think of what those people, that person, those few people did in terms of, you know, my life and giving me time with my grandchildren and allowing me to see my, you know, my little not barely talking, you know, 2-year-old granddaughter turn into a little chatterbox of a 3-year-old, and my grandson turning from a toddler to a kindergartner. And, you know, those moments in life that you don't really think about, how important they are, and how that gift, that really, you know, had that person not said, gee, I think I'll go give blood today, you know, none of those things would have happened for me over the past year.
Kathy, I couldn't have said it more perfectly. The theme of this campaign is give blood to give time. We at the Red Cross talk all the time about the blood and platelets are the gift of life, but you really, that's it. Those people, and as you said, I don't think there's a more selfless act than blood donation. They don't get a lot of attention, a lot of pats on the back, nor are they looking for those things.
Right.
Most of the donors that come out to give say that they have either been impacted by someone that they love needing blood, or they just want to help. And thank heavens that they do, because those numbers that we talked about early on, those 1 in 3 people, the 3,700 plus people here in Vermont this year, many of those people facing cancer are going to need blood during their battle.
Did your family change the way, their attitudes when it came to giving blood at the time?
Well, most dramatically, my colleagues at school changed. So I have the most wonderful community of parents and students and colleagues, and you know, right. And so they've just been incredible, and they all were asking, what can we do? What can we do? How can we help you? You know, and I said, you know, it really came back to, you know, the thing you could do is give blood, because that was a really significant, you know, aside from all the wonderful doctors and nurses and the treatment that I received, I said you could give blood. And so we have one teacher at school who is a wonderful organizer. She does all our scheduling and everything else whenever there's any organizing to be done. And she connected with the Red Cross and said, you know what, we'll go one step further. Instead of just going and giving blood, we'll do a blood drive. And so in October, they organized a blood drive in my honor, and now they're planning to do it every year.
Wow.
And so that was
65 pints they collected last year.
Wow,
yeah.
that's
So
great.
I mean, it was really, it was.
And you were there?
I was there. I was able to. It was on the off week of my treatment, so I was able to come up and be there for it and see everyone and thank them in person. And so that was wonderful. So, yeah, and I do have more of my family and friends saying, yeah, I'm going to go down and give. I'm going to go give some blood. So I think it does make a difference. Actually, I had someone who talked to me from one of the stations a week or so ago, and at the end he said, you know, I'm covering a blood drive next week. I think I'll give blood.
Oh, yay.
I said, well, that's great.
Yeah, it's just every little bit, every little step that counts. Like you said, we often correlate it with a car crash or something catastrophic. But
This is so wonderful to hear, because so many times a diagnosis of cancer can make people feel so helpless. Not just the patient, but their friends and their family. They want to help and they don't know what to do. And kudos to the Chamberlain School for what they did. And when you think about it, what they did to honor you, there's 65
pints,
pints of life-saving blood. Now those 65 pints will, each pint will touch up to 3 lives, so that one blood drive will go out to, help me out, school teacher, more than 180 people will be...
195, I think.
Wow.
Those will be touched by that blood drive to honor you.
Well, and the other thing that was nice about it is I had some former students who are now adults and came and gave blood, and
So
for the
nice.
first time, and
That
so
must make you feel
so
wonderful.
yes, so they said, oh, well, I'll keep giving blood, and so that was a wonderful thing to see too. Not only to see them all grown up, but also to know that that maybe they will embark on being a more regular blood donor than than I was.
Well, we always know how much of an impact teachers make on our lives, and that just goes to show you just how beneficial you were to them when they were younger, and how that counts.
Well,
That's such a beautiful story. Such a
How are
beautiful
you feeling
story.
now, Kathy?
Right now, I feel good. The treatments produce mild side effects. Sometimes I'm nauseous, but they have wonderful medications that they give me. And so I would say, again, I don't have the same energy level that I would like to have. But other than that, I'm doing well. And, each day is a gift. And we'll just keep on I wake up in the morning and say, well, I don't think I'm going anywhere today, so so let's get on with whatever I'm doing.
I love that attitude.
When we hear about, there's been a lot of talk about celebrities, unfortunately, being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer as well, and the light that's shone, on such a disease. What have you learned through this process about just knowing your body, knowing when to run the alarm a little bit?
Well, I guess, for me, the fatigue probably, although, I feel as though I did, I went to my doctor. I don't know. I don't know whether there was some point in time where there was some signal that I missed. I don't know. Other than the fatigue, I really didn't have any symptoms that would have given me a big warning. But, so I think it's just, in terms of what I've learned, I think I've learned that, we're all on a journey through life, and some have a longer journey and some have a shorter journey, and, we just do what we're meant to do in the time that we're given. So
sounds to me like you're such a busy lady that you just considered it another normal day of being a little tired. I think a lot of people do that.
Well, women, we put ourselves aside, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
That's true. That's true.
Well, from a lackadaisical blood donor that you called yourself, to somebody who directly or indirectly has really raised awareness and has done good when it comes to donating blood. Mary, your final message to those who can give, who haven't, who are on the fence?
Kathy put such a beautiful face on the need. Many times when you donate, people, as I said, they donate because they want to help. Here you've heard a story of a person battling cancer. And as we said, the numbers of people that will be battling cancer are going up. And right now, only 3 out of every 100 people in this country are donating blood. The bottom line is we need more people to roll up a sleeve and give to make sure that the donations are there when they are needed. And the Red Cross understands that not everyone can donate blood. And if you can't, as part of this campaign, we encourage you to go to the website Give Blood to Give Time and consider giving a donation to the American Cancer Society if you cannot donate blood. So to find out more about the campaign and how you can help those people battling cancer, please go to givebloodtogivetime.org.
And we all know, at this point, cancer doesn't discriminate. We all know somebody, unfortunately, who's dealing with this. So
it's hard to find anyone who doesn't know someone or their family's been affected, definitely.
Kathy, I really appreciate you telling your story with us today. And Mary, as always, it's wonderful to see you. So hopefully we've made some inroads to people out there this afternoon. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back on What Matters This Week.